Speaking of the Big 12, let's go to a game that has ginormous Big 12 championship implications, and that is Texas traveling to Ames, Iowa to play Iowa State, fighting Rocco Bex. Let's go. Quinn Ewers in his second game back. I thought he looked fine against TCU, but TCU kind of made a storming back in the fourth quarter.
Surprise, surprise for Texas, right? Like, what's new?
What's new? That secondary looking pretty questionable there. Iowa State at home. Some rowdy Cyclones. They're sitting at 6-4. I don't know. I think Iowa State could get a little frisky here. What do you think?
Well, they always do. You can never count on Iowa State and Matt Campbell. The thing is, you mentioned Quinn Ewers came back. That was a big boost. And now, yes, he didn't light it up, right? He's still obviously still recovering, still getting back, his feet under him. At the same time, though, like outside of Alabama, has he really lit it up? Like has he really taken that next step? I think he's better. He's better. He's less not turning the ball over, making better decisions, and they haven't needed him to. They leaned on Jonathan Brooks, but guess what? Unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL. He's done. Right? He'll probably be back next year, which is a big boost for Texas in 2024, but that can't help him right now. Right? And Quinn Ewers, obviously, they have talent there. No surprises there. Like CJ Baxter, his baller, Savan Red, even Keelan Robinson. Like there's guys, and they're so creative with Worthy out of the backfield and Matt Sanders and all those guys. Like Sark, I'm not too worried, but at the same time, like it's hard to overlook top 5 running back in the country just going down. A guy that was such a pivotal part of your offense. And now you got to go on the road and play an Iowa State team that's hungry, still fighting for a
Big 12 championship appearance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe they do have the tiebreaker Oklahoma State. I believe it would be in it if things hold and they went out. And obviously Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, a lot can happen in the next 2 weeks, obviously, but 7.5's a lot. 7.5's a lot. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to wait and make my pick after you.
Give me Iowa State plus 7.5. But I will take Texas to win the game as well. So maybe we middle this. I do think this Texas team, they know what they're playing for. Iowa State's playing for a Big 12 championship, but Texas is playing for a chance to win the national championship.
Yeah.
I do think they got a lot of stuff that they can scheme up. I think this offense opens up more. Now, Jonathan Brooks, terrible loss, but we talked about it before the season. Like this running back room is loaded still. It's still loaded. Now, Jonathan Brooks is the best back in Texas. In fact, he's one of the best backs in the country. This running back room is still loaded, and this offensive line is still good. I do think Iowa State can put points. I think a backdoor cover is not out of the question. Key for Texas, get off to a hot start. Get off to a hot start. But also another key too, like when Iowa State's forced to throw the ball with Rocco Beck's been good this year. When they're forcing Iowa State to throw the ball because they're up, make sure you're staying in control of the football and giving your defense a break and get Iowa State off the field when it matters down the stretch. So, yeah, like I said, Texas, give me them to win, but I'll take Iowa State plus 7 and the hook.
Yeah, I don't hate what you're saying. I see why you're doing it. It makes a lot of sense, especially the backdoor cover. A lot of things working against Texas. But at the same time, let's be real about Iowa State here. And I'm a huge Matt Campbell guy. I love the turnaround they've had. They're 6-4. They're 5-2 in conference after a brutal 1-2 start. But let's be real about they beat here, okay? They beat Oklahoma State. Right before Oklahoma State was, October, November, Oklahoma State. Right? They beat TCU, Cincinnati, Baylor, and BYU. And BYU was without Keaton Slovis. And BYU probably will not win a game without Keaton Slovis. So, it's not that they can't beat a good team. I'm not saying that. I think they can. And they hung with Kansas. Obviously, Oklahoma was just a wagon back then. But I don't know, man. I think Texas understands. You mentioned it. They understand the position they're in right now. And I think style points do matter. I think they do. If you struggle again with another team in conference, it's just more reason for the committee to put Oregon or Alabama over you, right, in that top 4 when it comes down to it. And I don't think Texas wants to let that happen. I don't think they want to leave any doubt for the committee and be like, hey, we are one of the best 4 teams, not only our resume, but also eye test. They're going to come out here on the road, the 7.5 point favorites, and get a big time win pretty convincingly. I think when Ewers shows up, I think their offense does. I think that defense buckles down. They've heard all the criticism about him. I get it. Iowa State's got some guys there too. Rocco Beck, you mentioned, is a baller. We love him. Jalen Noel has found success all year. Higgins has been an awesome surprise for them. But yeah, I think Texas gets it done here. I'm going to take them in -7.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. Like you're right. To that point, you're right. And there's a team that we might talk about later. Well, I will bring up the same point where I don't think the schedule, right? You look at the metrics and the schedule, and you're like, I understand why they're rated so highly because of the schedule. We'll talk about it for sure later. So I don't blame you at all. But from an eye test perspective, I really like Rocco Becht and what he's doing and what he's done. They've turned it around this season.
I agree. And also, like, when I say that, like I said, I don't think it can't happen. It doesn't mean you're a bad team because you haven't beaten anybody. But I think, like you mentioned it, the eye test, Iowa State looks way better than all those teams that were bad in the Big 12 that they beat, which is good. At the same time, you put them on the playing field as someone that's in the upper tier of the Big 12, and it's been hard. It's been hard for them, and Rocco Becht specifically. It's nice you're coming back home for that game. You mentioned names Iowa. It's tough. Ask Oklahoma State in 2011 how tough it is to play in Ames, Iowa. I know Iowa State fans remember that. I know Bama fans remember that. There's a lot of talk this week about, flashback to 2011 when Bama needed a loss from Oklahoma State to get into to backdoor their way into the championship game, PCS championship game in a rematch against LSU. This year, they're rooting for Iowa State again, very hard against Texas to help them, bolster their chance of making the playoffs. Funny how things go full circle. Does history repeat itself? I don't know. You tell us in the comments. Iowa State fans, Texas fans, tell me why you're pretty confident. Tell me why you deserve to be in the top 4.